A single revelation sent shockwaves through the royal family overnight. Carole Middleton, usually reserved, always composed, finally spoke out. And what she revealed about Queen Camilla changed everything. For years, their relationship seemed civil, even cordial. But behind the royal smiles and carefully managed public appearances, tensions had been simmering. Power struggles, whispered betrayals, and a quiet battle for influence had been playing out behind palace doors. Then, just when it seemed like the monarchy had settled into its new era, Carole shattered the illusion. Her words were sharp, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. The palace scrambled to contain the damage, but the truth was already out. What did she say? And why is the royal family desperate to keep it under wraps? Let's find out. The British royal family is no stranger to controversy, but this latest revelation has sent shockwaves through the palace. Carole Middleton, the mother of the future queen, has finally revealed a long-hidden truth about her tense relationship with Queen Camilla. For years, the two women played their roles in public, exchanging polite smiles and standing side by side at royal events. But behind closed doors, the dynamic was far from friendly. The friction between Carole and Camilla has been brewing ever since Kate Middleton stepped into royal life. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a subtle difference in personalities. Carole, the devoted and hands-on mother, versus Camilla, the seasoned royal who spent years navigating palace life. But over time, the tension grew. Carole had always been deeply involved in Kate's life, guiding her daughter through every stage, from childhood to marriage. When Kate joined the royal family, Carole was determined to make sure she was treated with the respect she deserved. Camilla, however, had different ideas about what a future queen should be like. Coming from an aristocratic background, Camilla was raised in a world where titles, heritage, and family connections meant everything. To her, the idea of Kate, someone from a middle-class background, marrying into the monarchy was a shift that didn't quite fit the traditional mold. And she wasn't afraid to make her feelings known. At first, Carole ignored the subtle jabs, the comments about Kate's upbringing, the whispers about whether she was royal enough, and the occasional cold stares at family gatherings. She brushed them off as harmless remarks, assuming they would fade over time. But they didn't. Instead, things escalated in the months leading up to Kate and William's wedding. As the world celebrated the grand occasion, behind the scenes the tension was reaching a boiling point. Camilla's influence within the family was growing, and she made it clear that she had strong opinions about how things should be done. One incident in particular left a lasting impact on Carole. It was during a private discussion about wedding preparations. Camilla reportedly questioned Carole's role in the event, making comments that implied she didn't belong in royal matters. To Carole, it was a direct insult, not just to her, but to her entire family. She had worked hard to support Kate, and she wasn't about to be sidelined. But the real battle began after Kate and William had children. Carole was a devoted grandmother from the very start. She was hands-on, present, and eager to help raise her grandchildren the way she saw fit. She wanted to be involved in their lives, from school drop-offs to bedtime stories, just as she had been in Kate's. But Camilla had her own views. She believed in the old-fashioned royal traditions, where the younger generation was raised with formality, structure, and a clear sense of hierarchy. The differences between them became even more obvious during key royal events. While King Charles fully embraced his role as a grandfather, spending time with George, Charlotte, and Louis, Camilla remained more reserved. Whether intentional or not, she maintained a level of distance from the children, engaging with them in a way that felt more formal than familial. Carole, on the other hand, brought warmth and familiarity. She played games with them, baked with them, and created a safe, loving environment outside of the palace walls. It was a stark contrast to the royal upbringing of past generations. Over time, these differences turned into an unspoken competition. Who would have more influence over the lives of the future king's children? Things reached a breaking point at a private family gathering. Feeling confident in her position, Camilla reportedly made remarks that cut deeper than ever before. She questioned Carole's role in the children's upbringing, implying that royal matters should be handled by the monarchy, not by outsiders. That was it. Carole had held back for years, trying to avoid unnecessary conflict. But this time, she couldn't stay silent. She had spent her life supporting her daughter, ensuring that Kate had every opportunity to succeed. She wasn't about to let someone push her out of the family she had worked so hard to be part of. Carole's response wasn't loud or confrontational. She didn't make a dramatic scene, but her message was clear. She was done being sidelined. And when word of the exchange spread, the reaction was immediate. The palace was in damage control mode. The royal family had spent years carefully crafting an image of unity, but now cracks were starting to show. This wasn't just about a disagreement between two women. It was about the growing divide between tradition and change. Carole represented a modern, involved grandmother who believed in raising children with warmth and affection. Camilla symbolized the old-world monarchy, where duty came before personal relationships. Their feud wasn't just personal, it was symbolic of the shifting dynamics within the royal family. Public opinion was split. Some sided with Carole, praising her for standing her ground and refusing to be silenced. Others believed she had overstepped, arguing that royal traditions should be respected no matter how outdated they seemed. Regardless of where people stood, one thing was certain: the monarchy had taken a hit. The media couldn't get enough of the story. Headlines dissected every detail, analyzing past interactions between the two women, looking for signs of tension that had previously gone unnoticed. Social media exploded with theories, debates, and discussions about what this revelation meant for the future of the royal family. And while the palace tried to maintain its usual silence, the damage had already been done. Carole's decision to speak out had changed everything. It forced a conversation that the royal family had been trying to avoid for years. Could the monarchy, built on centuries of strict tradition, truly adapt to a modern world where people expected honesty, transparency, and fairness? For a long time, the British royal family had relied on silence as its greatest weapon. When scandal erupted, they followed a simple rule: never complain, never explain. But this time, that strategy wasn't working. Carole's words had set off a chain reaction. The public wanted answers, and the palace? It was struggling to keep up. The weight of her accusations wasn't just about personal disagreements, it was about something bigger, about control, about power, and about the quiet battle between two women who saw the monarchy in very different ways. Carole wasn't afraid to say it. Camilla's rise to the top wasn't just smooth, it was calculated. Every move she made, every decision, every alliance, it was all carefully planned. Carole painted a picture of a woman who knew how to play the game and play it well. Camilla wasn't just another royal figure, she was a strategist. To Carole, this wasn't a monarchy built on destiny. It was a monarchy built on maneuvering. And Camilla, she had perfected it. But what really sent shockwaves through the palace was Carole's suggestion that Camilla's influence went beyond just royal politics. The queen consort wasn't just shaping the monarchy's future, she was controlling it. Carole didn't mince words. She claimed that Camilla treated people like chess pieces, carefully placing them where she needed them to be. Those who stood in her way, they were quietly pushed aside. Those who could be useful, they were drawn in closer. And the most damning part? Carole hinted that Camilla wasn't just manipulating relationships, she was manipulating the entire royal institution. For years, the royal family had maintained an image of unity, but Carole's claims shattered that illusion. She suggested that behind the scenes, it was Camilla pulling the strings. That the decisions being made weren't just about tradition, they were about personal power. If what Carole was saying was true, then the monarchy wasn't just facing a family feud. It was facing an internal crisis. The weight of these allegations sent the palace into immediate damage control. They had weathered scandals before, but this was different. This wasn't about tabloids twisting a story. This wasn't about rumors that could be brushed aside. This was about someone with direct ties to the future queen speaking out against the sitting queen consort. For the first time, Camilla's carefully maintained public image began to crack. She had spent years rebuilding her reputation, transforming from the most hated woman in Britain to a respected royal figure. But now, all of that was at risk. And then Carole dropped her biggest bombshell yet. She claimed that Camilla wasn't just using her influence to shape the royal family. She was hiding a past that could shake the monarchy to its core. The specifics were explosive: financial scandals, hidden dealings, and power moves that went far beyond what the public had ever known. Carole pointed to whispers of financial mismanagement, of questionable deals, of money being moved in ways that raised serious questions. These weren't just small issues. If true, they were the kind of allegations that could bring down entire governments. And for a monarchy built on trust and tradition, the impact could be devastating. For a moment, Camilla's usual composure faltered. The woman who had stood strong through decades of public scrutiny, who had survived years of criticism and scandal, looked shaken. The palace was now in full crisis mode. Damage control wasn't just an option, it was a necessity. The institution that had survived wars, abdications, and betrayals now faced something it hadn't dealt with before: a challenge from within. Carole wasn't just making accusations. She was demanding change. She had spent years watching Kate navigate royal life, seeing the unspoken battles unfold behind closed doors. And now, she had decided she wasn't going to be silent anymore. The question was, how far was she willing to go? Would she continue to press forward, forcing the royal family to acknowledge what had been whispered about for years? Or would the pressure from the palace be too much? And more importantly, what did this mean for Kate and William? With the future of the monarchy resting on their shoulders, the last thing they needed was a war within their own family. But as the dust settled, one thing was clear. Carole had changed the game. The monarchy was no longer just about tradition and duty. It was about power plays, shifting alliances, and a battle for control that was more intense than ever before. The quiet tensions that had been brewing for years had finally exploded into the public eye, and the fallout was impossible to ignore. The palace was in full crisis mode. Senior aides scrambled behind the scenes, trying to contain the damage, but it was already too late. The truth had been exposed, and there was no way to undo it. For years, Camilla had built an image of resilience, grace, and quiet strength. She had weathered scandals, public scrutiny, and relentless criticism. She had gone from being one of the most controversial figures in royal history to queen consort, standing beside King Charles as a central figure in the monarchy. But now, that image was unraveling. The revelations about Camilla weren't just shocking, they were damning. Reports of hidden power moves, backroom deals, and a carefully orchestrated rise to influence painted a very different picture of the woman many had come to accept as queen. It wasn't just about her past relationship with Charles. It was about how she had secured her position. Allegations of manipulation, whispered betrayals, and even financial irregularities began circulating. For years, rumors had persisted that Camilla had played a behind-the-scenes role in shaping the royal family's dynamics. Now, those rumors had turned into something much more serious, accusations that threatened her standing and put the monarchy under intense scrutiny. And the reaction from within the palace? Pure chaos. Prince William, the future king, was furious. He had spent his entire life protecting the image of the monarchy, working tirelessly to modernize its reputation. But this felt personal. William had already struggled for years with the legacy of his mother, Princess Diana. The shadow of her tragic story had never truly faded, and now new questions were being raised about the role Camilla had played in shaping the narrative around her. Kate, always composed, always diplomatic, was shaken. She had spent years carefully managing her relationship with Camilla, keeping things polite for the sake of the family. But now, the mask had slipped. She couldn't ignore what was happening. And then there was King Charles. He had fought relentlessly to bring Camilla into the royal fold, enduring decades of public backlash to make her his queen. Now, as the revelations surfaced, he found himself in an impossible position. Defending her could risk his own reputation. Staying silent could make it worse. For a man who had waited his entire life to become king, this was a nightmare scenario. While the palace was thrown into disarray, Carole Middleton's influence was only growing. She had always been seen as an outsider, the commoner whose daughter had married into royalty. But now she was a power player in her own right. Unlike Camilla, who had spent years working her way into the royal system, Carole had done something entirely different. She had built her power from outside the palace walls. Her presence in Kate and William's life had never been about tradition or status. It had been about stability, about offering her daughter and grandchildren something that no royal protocol could provide, a normal family life. And the public noticed. As Camilla's reputation crumbled, Carole's influence only became stronger. She represented the modern, relatable side of the monarchy, the hard-working mother who had raised a future queen. People admired her, they trusted her, and in the court of public opinion, Carole was winning. As the media continued to uncover more details, public opinion began to shift dramatically. For years, people had accepted Camilla as part of the royal family, even if they hadn't fully embraced her. But now the skepticism was returning. Stories of past conflicts, secret conversations, and hidden power struggles started resurfacing. Allegations that Camilla had intentionally pushed certain figures out of favor, including members of William and Kate's inner circle, only fueled the fire. The contrast between her and Carole was stark. Carole was the hands-on grandmother, always present in George, Charlotte, and Louis's lives. She helped with school runs, spent time at family holidays, and provided an anchor of support. Camilla, on the other hand, had always been more distant with the Wales children. While Charles had made efforts to be an engaged grandfather, Camilla had largely focused on her own family. Now, with her influence waning, her absence was even more noticeable. As the dust settled, it became clear that Camilla's position had changed. She wasn't just facing another PR crisis, she was facing a potential fall from grace. Public events that had once felt like showcases of royal unity now felt tense, forced, and scrutinized. Every glance, every interaction, every absence was analyzed for signs of deeper fractures within the family. And then, the final blow came. Camilla, once a central figure in royal life, began withdrawing from major public events. At first, the palace claimed it was due to personal reasons and health concerns. But insiders suggested something very different. She was being pushed to the sidelines. The monarchy had weathered many scandals, but this one felt different. The power struggles weren't just playing out behind closed doors. They were happening in real time, under the public's watchful eye. And the person at the center of it all? Carole Middleton. With Camilla's influence fading and William and Kate stepping into more dominant roles, the future of the monarchy was changing before the public's eyes. The old ways of doing things, the rigid traditions, the unspoken rules, were beginning to crack under the weight of modern expectations. Would the monarchy survive this latest power struggle? Would Camilla ever recover her influence? Or was this the beginning of her quiet exit from the public stage? And with Carole's growing presence, could this signal a new shift in how the royal family operates? One thing is certain, the game has changed. And as the monarchy stands at a crossroads, the next moves they make will determine their future. What do you think? Did Carole Middleton just expose the royal family's biggest weakness? Or is this simply another chapter in the palace's ongoing power struggles? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal revelations.